All pop culture references mentioned during this podcast are analyzed and scored by artificial intelligence. Jeff and Chris have learned not to argue with AI's decisions and strongly suggest you shut your mouth as well.
Well, Chris, from San Diego, it's 2,028 miles to Chicago. We got full bars on the Wi-Fi, half a pack of candy cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing bifocals with transitional lenses. Hit it.
Okay, Jeff, we did it. We're here. We're on video, and it's well documented how I feel about my reflection and how I, avoid puddles, and I'm always the guy taking the family picture as opposed to being in the family picture. But I don't know how I'm going to feel when I watch this. I may not watch it. But we're here. We're on video, adding a new layer to Nice Poll. We're adding some different stuff as well to this episode going forward. But we made it. We made it. We're here. I almost ran out and bought a ski mask for the occasion, but instead, guess what? I took a shower. So I'm ready. I am camera ready, and we're here. Let's go.
I'm super excited too. For everyone that has stuck with us for the last 49 episodes. Again, as we've been teasing, we thought it would be great to just get into the year 2025 and have this thing called video. With this format, right, we're going to be able to do all kinds of stuff, guys. And I think this first episode, we've got a couple surprises in store, but we're going to actually now be diving into things from a visual standpoint and not just talking about it, right?
Visual aids.
I thought it would be really cool for AI, that's right, artificial intelligence, our enemy, but no, our friend, to actually listen to Chris and I and pay close attention to any references we make to pop culture, and then actually grade us in the episode on how obscure that reference was and score it, right? Just actually score it. So I've actually coached AI. I know that sounds weird. We had a long conversation, me and my buddy, and I've trained it to score us on our nice polls. And by the way, you don't actually get a nice poll according to AI unless it's really obscure. But each episode, we are going to be keeping track for what it's worth, and we're going to see who won the contest. And of course, anybody that's listening in, if you want to correct AI at your own risk, go for it. If you think we made a mistake, that's fine. But Chris, I think this friendly competition is going to be kind of fun. What do you think?
I think so. I know you're probably one of the biggest, what should I say? Users? No. You've embraced AI. Some people have ran from it. Some people kind of stuck a toe in the AI water. I'm probably a little bit, maybe I went up into my waist in the water of AI. But you are, when I think of AI, I think of like, well, what would Jeff do with AI in this? So we're about to see that. We're about to hear that. So no, I think it's great. I know how competitive and how much you love sporting kind of stuff. So we'll see how that balances out, right?
I am kind of competitive. I'm not such a sports guy necessarily, Chris. I don't know if you know that or not, but I do like it when the team does a good job and makes the goal go through the basket and hits the stuff. I think that's pretty good.
Well done.
God bless them. And I hear hockey is still a sport, which is nice. So I'm not saying I'm totally up to date on that, but I do have a little competitive nature. Well, Chris, so now that we're in the video world, what is the topic for today? What are we looking at today? What are we doing here?
We talk, obviously, yes, 49 and now 50 episodes into the dark recesses of our memory and our mind and our inspirations and influences from when we were small kids and immersed in media. And here we are now as adults, or at least chronological adults, basically, still in the media and talking about media. And the one thing that we always make passing references to, and probably go back and find some polls and some nice polls and some deep polls, 49 episodes in, public service announcements, otherwise known as PSAs, otherwise known as those commercials we used to see, and there were radio, and basically there were whole campaigns, right? There was like radio versions, and there were print campaigns, and there were posters that you'd see up at school, you know, in the hallways or outside the offices, all aligned with these campaigns, and the public service announcements that we saw, pretty, I would say, you know, I'm not quite sure when they started. I think they became sort of something that was regulated or passed into like, hey, we have to do these. I like to think, and again, if I did, you know, 30 seconds of research on it, I like to think this came out of everything that kind of came out of the 60s with, you know, protests and civil rights and education, you know, Earth Day and all those things that came out, and people started to care and actually had thoughts, right, and put them together. And by the time we were watching television, these things would pop up on afternoons, you know, between Gilligan's Island and I Dream of Jeannie. Saturday morning cartoons, right? We would, and they became part of the fabric. They looked like commercials. They sounded like commercials. They weren't specifically commercials. There was no product. There was no services. There was an idea, right? There was basically three buckets. I want to say the one that was sort of educational and aspirational, that sort of encouraged you, hey, pick up your trash. There were the ones that were like cautionary tales, like, hey, don't do this because these are bad things and what's going to happen to us. And then the third, right. And then the third ones were what? The third ones were, you did do that. You didn't listen.
That's
and
right.
Look what happened to this kid.
That's right. Yeah. You're right. That is so exactly true, right? Round one, hey, there's this thing out there. Look out for it. And then round two, I'm talking to you specifically, buddy. Did you think I was just talking in general? No. You need to be careful of this stuff. And then round three, what the fuck, bro? You did it, didn't you? You went and did it. I told you not to do it, and you did it.
Look what happened.
So, exactly. And Chris, before we jump into the PSAs, I think the elephant in the room, so to speak, is we're inside TV sets right now. Look at us. We're the Brady Bunch. I love this, right? That means that now Chris and I can do the thing where we look down, you know, at the cabinet below us, which I think, Chris, we're calling that cabinet below us the liquor cabinet. Is that correct?
For now, anyway, yeah. Where all the good stuff was.
Title.
The liquor and the pornography, at least at my house. Yeah.
Right. So we have some surprises down there in the liquor cabinet. And
oh, boy.
You guys. So look. When you see us looking around, it's because, we're inside the TV and we can see everything you're seeing. Some things we can't see. I'm looking down. I can't see all that stuff. But nonetheless, Chris, so let's do it, man. Let's jump right in. I've prepared for us some PSA spots that, in this case, are things that we probably have never seen, right? So this would not be the American Indian on the side of the road talking about litter, right? That horrible thing that made us all cry and feel bad, you know, back in the 70s.
Iron Eyes Cody. His name was Iron Eyes Cody. Where are you, Iron Eyes?
Well, there you go. Chris just scored his first nice pull, because that right there is a nice pull that is not like
we'll see.
A little. No, that's pretty obscure, dude. Iron Eyes Cody.
All right.
Yeah. Or frying the egg in the pan. This is your brain. This is your brain on drugs. We've all seen those. These are ones that I challenge the audience to get back to us and tell us if you've ever seen these before. Because, dude, let's start with one that I think maybe some people have seen, but again, I've only seen the beginning of it, and I know it's going to go weird. So let's do it. Here we go.
I guess if they did see it, Jeff, they watched even more television than we did. Okay, so maybe that's the determining factor. But yeah, let's roll.
That is saying something. Saying something.
Right.
Cool.
I know a place that's peaceful and quiet, a place where animals play. It's called a forest, but every year we start forest fires. A careless match, a cigarette, and poof, fire. So the next time you're in the forest, be extra careful, okay?
If you knew it was me, would you have listened?
Oh, Christ.
Okay.
What was that? Okay. Wow. Okay. I have thoughts. First of all, it hit us right. If I can just jump right in, it did hit us with, okay, it turned out to be our friend Smokey Bear, but I didn't see that coming. Instead, I saw this sort of, modernized Ginger Grant, right, and her sultry voice.
That's right. It was exactly like Ginger Grant. I didn't even make that connection. That is right. Yeah.
Sultry voice.
Yeah.
Right. Just kind of like, hey. And it's just like, okay, you got my attention, lady. And it's just like, and then starts talking about smoking in the forest. And then again, it's just, well, I'm 9. I don't do that, but all right. I'll still see where this is going.
Right.
And
right.
then Jesus Christ. Fever dream of her ripping off her face, again, Mission Impossible style, right? Because that was that was of the same era. And it's like,
one. Yeah.
Holy
You're right.
crap.
Yeah.
This isn't Jim Phelps on some mission. It's not Ginger Grant, telling Gilligan and Skipper to, stub out their heaters before they, go into the jungle. It's Jesus Christ, man. I'll never smoke. I'll never smoke. And as a matter of fact, I'll never allow anybody to smoke. I'll run around with a bucket of water and dump it over their head because I don't want the forest to burn down. Okay.
And Chris, let's take that apart to the best part of it, which was when she goes, and poof. It's the poof part to me. Because the director was saying to her, this is probably the first way that she did it. And then poof, the forest is on fire. And he goes, no. You still need to be sexy. We got to have a sexy poof. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, bring it down, whisper and make it sexy. And she's like, and then poof. Right? It's just so bizarre. It's so awkward. And then to your point, I love that because you're right. It's very Jim Phelps. It's very Mission Impossible. But for a second there, it was almost like The Exorcist, dude. Like that, one little flash frame, you're like, oh my God, what is happening? And I think, Chris, this falls into your third tier, which is, I'm talking to you, asshole, right? I'm so sick. This is what he's basically saying to us. I am so sick of lecturing you motherfuckers about this.
Right.
Could you just listen? Oh, if I act like I'm this hot chick, now will you listen? It's so great on so many levels. Have you seen that one before?
It seemed vaguely familiar, but I didn't remember what the punchline was. So it's just like, because I think those were, there were also ones where the camera would pull back and you'd see somebody like, talking out of a little tracheotomy. You know what I mean? So it was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think eventually they got to the, we got to draw him in and then we got to kick him in the nuts. And I think so this was sort of that thing. And then I think you could take it even one step further. I mean, I don't want to get Freudian on this, but it's like when this
Freudian, dude. This is the perfect time to do it.
When this sultry red-haired woman goes, poof. It's like, as an adolescent boy, you're going, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I just poofed.
Yeah.
And whatever. So, you know what I mean? So I think so many layers to that, to the point of like, I don't even, and the thing is you couldn't, now we could like, because I don't even know, well, again, it's like when you see something, it's like, I gotta rewind that. What was that again? We didn't have that capability. It was gone. And you may never see it again, or you might not see it for another 6 months, or you could tell someone, hey, did you see this guy? And they're like looking at you like, what are you talking about? Right? Yeah. You couldn't pull it up on YouTube and say, check this out. You couldn't share it on Instagram. Right. So just the sort of fleetingness to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of it too, where you were kind of drawn in and maybe you weren't paying 100% invested, and then poof, and your world just collapses.
Well, Chris, now the visual is in my head permanently. I love that quote. I just poofed. That was, dude.
I'll be right back. Oh boy,
it's so ridiculous on all levels. What a great example of the 1970s. Just like, I'm sorry, what now? Where did you got? Who thought of this? And the execution of it is just so bizarre. Like, there's a million ways you could have done this, but it's really off-putting. I mean, if that's what they wanted to, get across, they did a good job, right? If that was the tone, yeah.
I think this is another example, and again, we made references to this as the writer's room or whatever, where, if you and I could jump into a DeLorean and go 88 miles an hour and go wherever we want, it's like, we want to trip, we want to, forget it, we want to go into some of these writers' rooms and see where they wrote this script or came up with this concept And again, this maybe was created by some guy who like completely missed his deadline and had a meeting and just just came out of nowhere. And he had watched Mission Impossible the night before, and he's like, and then at the end, she rips off her face and it's smoky, right? And he's like desperate, and it becomes, here we are, 45 years later, two dudes making fun of it and loving it. But oh, it's awesome. That is so awesome. I love it.
Unlike Darren Stevens, who can calmly come up with an ad campaign, this guy, like you said, he was more of a Don Draper situation where he's totally drunk and he's completely strung out and he's trying desperately to come up with the awesome ad campaign, and time's running out. And he looks over at his secretary and goes, I get it. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Yeah. And they rip the mask off. Yeah, exactly. That's awesome.
Larry Tate's all, I don't know how you did it, but they bought it, and then they're like, and I'll go back down to, that is awesome. Love it. What else you got?
So Chris, this next one,
yeah.
You know how when you're looking for content, right? And then you see the thing that you want and you grab it, and then right after it, the next thing plays and you're like, oh, wait a minute, what's this next thing? It's not a PSA. This is not technically a public service announcement.
Okay.
But I feel like the same exact ad executive that we talked about, who was super drunk and running out of ideas, and was thinking the same thing, created this. Now, again, I'm going to be fascinated to hear if you've ever seen this one. I have no recollection of this. It's almost like the Mandela effect. Maybe in a different time or dimension, this was a commercial. Get ready and brace for impact. Here we go.
There's one person nobody can resist, and that's a baby. So love made baby soft, with the innocent scent of a cuddly, clean baby that grew up very sexy, informing bath, body lotion, body powder, and body mist. So innocent it may well be the sexiest fragrance around. Love's baby soft, because innocence is sexier than you think. For your baby.
I'm sorry, what now?
What in the actual hell?
Right?
He's talking about a baby that grows up sexy?
Chris, because nothing is sexier than that, according to this ad. Nothing. There's nothing sexier than that. And I mean, look, it's easy enough to make fun of it, but in this case, right? That has to be like, what would you rate the cringe factor on that? Just the uncomfortable cringe factor. Would you give it a 10?
I'd give it a 14 out of 15 out of 10. I mean, I think.
Well, that's a confusing scoring system.
Okay, well, I think more than a 10. I think I think maybe this is a PSA, but it's for girls to run away.
Did they even have a legal department back then where some guy would walk in and be the buzzkill and go, hold on a second, let me just make sure this is going to pass our standards? And somehow, after watching it, the first time, somebody said, hey, you know what? We need to ramp it up a little bit. And then someone raises their hand and it's like, let's stick a giant lollipop in her mouth. You know what? I think that's the visual we're looking for, right? Let's do that. Let's just punch right through the envelope and just take it one extra level. And by the way, she's not just kind of like normally licking the lollipop, right? She's literally got it in her mouth. Just.
And then I'm going to throw out there, the hair color. I don't know if we're getting into a pattern or a stereotype for the women with this. She's not a brunette. She's not a blonde. It's like that's that red sort of like, this is a little bit of danger here.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. The crazy redhead concept. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay.
Holy cow. Can we see a PSA now? Because I need to be inspired or informed, because right now I feel like I need to go wash my hands.
I think this goes back to, if you're an impressionable guy back then, and then poof,
Poof.
Yeah, exactly. So, absolutely. Well, let's get back to PSAs. And again, I think I'm going to be serving up one that I know I've never seen, and hopefully you've never seen as well, Chris.
All right.
So let's take a look at this one real quick.
We're late. We'll have to fly.
Fly within the speed limit. We'll get there.
But I just spent $25 on these tickets.
You'll get a $50 ticket if we get caught for speeding.
We won't get stopped.
The cruisers are everywhere. Police stop thousands of people every month. Mellow out. Do you know what that does to your insurance?
My father will kill me.
Can you live with all that?
No. I'll drive 55. I can live with that.
55, a number you can live with.
Drive yourself to think.
From the Governor's Highway Safety Bureau.
Oh my God. so many things. I don't
So
even know
many
where to
questions.
begin. First of all, as a grown adult, when I look at that, I'm thinking, well, I have kids. She does make sense. She's being the sensible one. But even at my age right now, I'm looking at that and going, who the fuck is this chick? What kind of a buzzkill is this?
Oh my God.
What kind of a red flag is it when your date back in the 80s is like, hold on a second, can you afford this? Do you know how much your insurance is going to go up if you get caught getting a speeding ticket? It's like, dude, I'm sorry, what now? How about this? How about if you get out of the car, go back to your house, and I go and have something called fun because I'm young? What the hell is up with this girl? Buzz Killington. Jesus.
Okay, it would have made sense at the end if she pulled off a mask and it was his dad, right? Talking about his insurance rates, right? Then, or his mom, then it would have made sense. Because other than that, it's just like, what kid? And let's talk, and we could dive in. It's like, is this like is this a first date? Please tell me they're not in this long-term,
Chris,
this
relationship. Is not a first date.
This kid is already getting hammered about his responsibility, right, and his habits and everything else, and they're still carrying peachy folders around. Okay, but it's already on, and the one thing I do love is we spent $25 on these tickets. Like, yes, I miss those days when you could get 2 tickets for $25.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm sorry. What now? You spent $25 on 2 tickets? Yeah, right. That is incredible.
That was half my paycheck from Captain Kidd's Galley, man.
Wow, good poll. Nice.
Or what, Long John Silver's, whatever. I appreciate that aspect of it. But at that point, when I thought she was going to start firing off like well, she did. Their cruisers are out. It's like she's reading a PSA. You know what I mean? It's just like she's got talking points and stats of like, I thought she was going to start firing off percentages of like, 67% of all drivers under the age of 17 are involved in serious accidents. 11% of those resulting in death or dismemberment. That's the track she was on.
And Chris, do you know how I know that it wasn't a first date? Because of his answer. He is so used to this that when she says, what was his immediate reaction to her giving him all those statistics and lecturing him? He's like, absolutely. You know what? I will drive 55. That does make sense. He knows that that's just going to make it so much easier. Let's just get to the fucking concert, okay? Whether it's 55 miles an hour or not, let's just get there. And by the way, when we get to the concert, can you please not lecture me on the seats and how loud people are talking behind us? Can you imagine the poor people at the concert?
Right.
Excuse me. Did you know that hearing loss can happen even at 16 decibels?
Right. And she's like, will you tell those people in front of us to sit down? It's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, that is the look and reaction of a guy who's probably still trying to get past second base. So he's putting up with all of this.
Right. Oh my God. Can you imagine the teen pregnancy statistics that she could rattle off? Dude, I don't even want to think about it. Oh my God. The STD lecture. Dude, it would never end. I mean, she's very responsible, but she's also 56 years old.
I was going to say.
Do you get the feeling that the only reason her dad let her date that guy and get out of the house is because he didn't want to get lectured again about smoking? Right? Just go. I don't care who you're dating. Just get the F out of the house and go on a date. Just please give me a break. The guy's just like chain smoking while she's gone. Just leave me in peace.
And he's throwing the butt out the window as he drives past, the secret woods. And
that's
everything's
right.
going to be engulfed in flames. I don't know if that's a public service announcement. I think that's a teenage boy service announcement.
I think that's just a red flag warning to every young adult back then that is trying to hook up.
Rethink your relationships.
So, Chris, the PSA train just gets weirder and weirder the more we roll here. So let me line up another one here for you in the old liquor cabinet.
Got it. Let's go.
Let's check this one out.
Got it.
Marijuana, stimulating, mind-expanding, safer to use than alcohol. It's the in thing, the hula hoop of the jet generation. Marijuana is an intoxicating, mind-muddling drug, and as much a part of growing up as smoking corn silk behind the back fence. This has been a public service message of the American Medical Association and your local station.
All right, try to unpack that one. Just try to unpack the actual verbiage and the phraseology in that ad. Go for it. I dare you. Where do you begin?
Well, first, I'm trying to find the downsides, because it starts off because it's just mind altering. It's like, hey, I'm up for that, and it gets a little bit into the slang and the jargon, and
But Chris, is it even a cautionary tale? Like, my
no,
takeaway from that is I want marijuana
it's
now.
a rite of passage. He says
Right?
it's a rite of passage.
It's not just a rite of passage, buddy. It is the hula hoop of the jet set. It's the hula hoop of the jet set, Chris, the jet set. Do you not want to be part of the jet set? Do you not appreciate the value of a hula hoop? Who's the audience? Kids that can actually remember a time where they're smoking corn silk behind the barn? Who's the audience? Who's smoking corn silk? When was this? This is the 70s. Who's smoking corn silk behind the barn? Are they in the 70s? I'm unaware of this.
Again, when, like, if you think about it, and we put it in the context when we're always thinking about, we're thinking about the room, we're thinking about the conference table, the guys throwing out the terms and catchphrases or whatever. The hula hoop of the jet set, I could see that in a magazine ad, right? It's just like, sign me up. I want the hula hoop of the jet set, and I want it right now.
Yeah, right. I mean, you
Holy
might get a muddled brain, Chris, but come on, right? I mean, again,
It's my right. It's a rite of passage to get that muddled brain, Jeff.
I'm trying to understand what the message is, because to me, it's, let's go fucking buy some pot, man. Let's do this thing. What are we waiting for? Right? Am I wrong?
Sign me up right now. I don't even have to finish watching. I'm there. You sold me. Let's run down to the store.
I remember an episode of the Brady Bunch. I think it was the last episode or one of the last episodes where Mike Reed, that was the guy's name, right? Mike Reed?
Robert Reed. Mike Brady, Robert Reed.
There you go. You got that poll, man. Sorry,
Okay.
Robert. Yeah, that's right. Robert Reed, he was upset because the writers of the show were super old school and very out of touch. And one of the things that he objected to in this interview was a salesperson went up to the Brady's front door and knocked. And there was a sign out in front that said, no peddling, no peddling, right?
Peddlers.
Which, yeah, right. As opposed, not no solicitors, no salesperson, but no peddling, right? Which is what, like a 1920s expression.
Probably. Yeah. No blacksmiths either, right? I mean,
no blacksmiths, right? Yeah, right, exactly. No horse carriages after 6, right? And his whole point was, come on, guys, peddling. Can we get a more up-to-date term? Who's writing the show? The corn silk in the barn. I'm just trying to figure out. This is definitely not a 1950s PSA, right? This is a more modern PSA.
No.
It looks like it was around the mid to late 70s. So,
right.
So, Chris, this next one is going to take us in a completely different direction. This is a problem that I did not even know that society had back then.
Oh, excellent.
I don't even remember it, but check this out, Chris, and I think you'll see that back in the day, this was literally plaguing neighborhoods and local law enforcement. Let's take a look.
Watch this. Was it that great?
That's not great. That's terrible. I mean, what are you gonna do with a radio antenna? Nothing, that's what. So I fail to see what's being accomplished here. When you destroy someone's property, it's just not funny or cool. How would you feel if someone trashed all your stuff like that? Listen, there are a lot of ways to have a good time, but destroying someone else's property just isn't one of them.
Hey, Dad, you listen to the game on the radio?
Oh, sure, why not? Oh, no, somebody's busted my antenna.
And that's one to grow on.
By the way, I'm going to start at the very end. That's one to grow on. What does that even mean? That's their slogan. That's one to grow on. But Chris, in your entire youth, right? We all did things. We threw eggs at people's houses. We toilet papered stuff. You might have thrown an M80 in someone's backyard. Me and my friend Scott. But did you ever rip antennas off of people's cars? Was that a thing?
Hey, we all like to have a good time. Is somebody who's like, yeah, maybe we want to go get the hula hoop or the jet set, Byron Allen. Byron Allen. I think these were some Saturday. I think the one to grow on. I think that was maybe a precursor to the more you know or something
More
like
you
that.
know. Yeah, I was thinking the
kind
same
of things.
thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
First, and then this probably jumped out at you too. It's like, we've watched a few. None of the protagonists or the heroes have been people of color or a black kid. We finally get a black kid and he's out vandalizing cars.
Right. Good point.
And then it comes back to bite him in the ass when his dad's
Right.
antenna gets the same. Oh no, look what happened.
That's right. They did have a casting choice there, Chris. You're right. I mean, let's be honest. There was a white actor and a black actor. And of course they're like, let's see. Who's going to be the
Who's the bad influence?
And I love the fact that the other kid comes in and goes, "Hey man, come on, let's get out of here." And then the kid that breaks the antenna's like, "Wasn't this great? We just gotta make an extra." And by the way, I was kind of with them. That did look like fun. I'm not condoning vandalism, but when you're thinking about being a kid in the 70s and being a total shit, which many of us were, and you run off. I mean, I'm not condoning it, but I could see why it would be thrilling, right? And then what's his punishment? Oh man, we can't listen to the game. Womp womp wow. Yeah,
that is wild. I mean, hey, that's one to grow on, Jeff. It really is.
That is one to grow on. And then poof. Exactly. Well, we're really putting it all together here.
We are.
So to speak. All
this
right.
is wildly educational.
Well, Chris, this one is going to take a very serious turn. Now, we have been kind of laughing along the way, but I think this next one, we're going to have to do some thinking here.
I was overweight and looked terrible, but AIDS helped me lose 46 pounds. The AIDS diet plan helped me lose 28 pounds.
AIDS helps control your appetite so you lose weight, yet AIDS lets you taste, chew, and enjoy. And the appetite suppressant in AIDS is not a stimulant.
AIDS helped me to lose 18 pounds, and it doesn't contain anything to make me nervous.
Question: why take diet pills when you can enjoy AIDS? AIDS helps you lose weight without making you jittery.
Why take a diet pill, Chris, when you can enjoy AIDS? I guess that is the question.
How long have you known me? Have you ever known me to be at a loss for words? Okay.
Very rarely. Yeah.
I think I feel it's somewhat wrong to find this humorous. Okay, especially after what transpired. First of all, I think I guarantee you any amount of money you run down to CVS right now or Rite Aid, you cannot find AIDS anywhere on the shelf. I'm guessing it was rebranded mid to late 80s, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But out of context, AIDS helped me lose weight. AIDS curbed my appetite. I lost 18 pounds. That was the first day. You know what I mean? It's just like there's so many things that are coincidentally wrong with this, but just results in and there's that saying, about and you and I both, and we have several good friends who we try to find that silver lining of humor in anything. The saying is tragedy plus time equals comedy. This is high comedy. This is like award-winning. You couldn't write this, and of course you can't write this now. But holy crap!
Well, I did cheat on that one, Chris. I threw us a left turn. That was not a PSA.
No,
it is such mind-blowingly bad timing and wording, and really when you look at it, I think immediately of either number one, a Saturday Night Live skit of some kind, right? Or not a sketch. Sketch. I apologize.
There you go.
Or one of their fake commercials, right? This looks like it would have been one of their fake commercials. Yeah. Colon blow, right? Or more specifically, an episode of South Park where they literally did an entire episode on using the word AIDS in a completely different context. But again, the best in terms of just being the worst. Awesome cringe.
You did
high level.
You did a master job of leading us from the antenna problem to take AIDS. Intentionally have some AIDS, and this is great. Oh my God. Good Lord.
Chris, speaking of the antenna vandalism plague that we all know was happening back then, there was something else that really was creeping in to our daily lives back then. And this is a real cautionary tale of what to look out for, right? Because if you're not careful, this could affect you as well.
Monsters do have their place. In the zoo, in your nightmares, in the deep, in your favorite horror movies. But not in your living room, on your TV. Don't let pay TV be the monster in your living room. Pay TV and cable TV companies are seeking the right to charge you for the very programs you now get free. If you want to stop pay TV and save free television, sign the petition in the lobby of this theater. Let your lawmakers know how you feel in the fight against pay TV and cable TV.
So before we say anything, how did that battle go, Chris? As far as you know, did those petitions pay off? Did they finally get enough of a grassroots groundswell to stop, get this, cable TV and pay TV? How did that go?
Badly. Yeah, that's quite this public service brought to you by the broadcast, television networks of America. Holy Christ, yeah. That is hilarious. Never saw it. Love it.
You can watch Monsters right now for free, but the real monster is the people telling you that they want you to pay for it. But at the same time, the programming you can get if you pay for it, right? We all knew, even back then, was going to be way better than the shit that we would see on free TV. I think the one thing they might be leaving out there, right, is commercials, right? I think that was the whole point of pay TV, right? Was you didn't have to watch a bunch of ads.
Right.
You can, yeah.
And you can also watch those same monsters you just referred to on free TV, but unedited. So I want again, like you said, I want the experience I just had at the movies. I want the blood, I want the gore, I want the violence, I want that, partial nudity. I want all of those things in the comfort of my own. That I see no monster here. Or if I do see that monster, guess what? I am the monster, Jeff. That's me.
I see no monster here. That's right. I don't want to be in the middle of a really scary movie and then have it interrupted by the girl slowly slobbering on the lollipop to take me completely, or getting lectured in the car about going 55 or 75 miles an hour, right?
Telling me that AIDS will help me lose weight. I don't want any of those things.
That's right.
Wow, that was amazing. I love that. That is, like I said, I'd never seen it, and I love it, and I'll never forget it.
Okay, well, good. I love it, because that's what I was trying to do with these and my different picks here. So, Chris, now we're going to move into a more somber tone, and I would say this is, it's dark, it's harrowing, it's not for the faint of heart. So for those of our nice poll listeners who are sensitive viewers, I would recommend that you either fast forward or just don't watch what we're about to show you.
Anyway.
This is horrific and frightening, and God forbid any of this ever happened to anyone that you knew back then.
When you fly your kite or model plane, remember you're in charge of a flying machine. Pilots have to observe safety rules. So must you. Make sure there are no pylons, overhead lines, or electric substations around.
Go!
Control lines, even if made of string or nylon, can conduct electricity, especially when they're wet.
Watch out!
There you are. Clear to take off.
Always make sure you're in a clear area to take off. Then you'll fly safe and play safe.
My sweet God. Chris, as you look back, and it's very possible that you blanked this out over the years, that because of the PTSD, you've just forgotten these things, but how many friends of yours would you say were electrocuted while flying a kite? Is it in the dozens?
Let me see. Let me count. There was
Yeah.
none. That would be none. That
Okay.
would be none.
It's a cautionary tale, though, Chris, because I took science class just like you did. We didn't necessarily have Bill Nye the Science Guy back then, but we did have Carl Sagan. And I can't think of a single time that anyone ever said to me, hey, by the way, kite string is a conductor of electricity. In fact, as I sit here, I'm going to go ahead and say, no, sir. Kite string does not conduct electricity. Now, I could be wrong. Please, if you're one of the listening audience that wants to correct me, that's fine. I guess I could use the Google machine, but kite string is a conductor of electricity. And by the way, was that death scene dramatic enough for you? What do you think?
There's so much to unpack in this tiny, it was pretty fast paced. I will give the director credit for that. And first of all, where does this kid live?
Well, I get the feeling that this is a British PSA. Not only does the guy have the British accent, but he does refer to these electrical towers as pylons.
Okay.
Not since Rick Springfield have I heard the word pylon used in that kind of a context.
And that point was not moot, even though Rick Springfield.
No, it was not moot.
So.
There you go. Back to Rick. I'll take Rick Springfield lyrics for 1,000. Yeah. So I get the feeling that this probably was a British PSA, which is maybe you never heard of it. But again, even in Britain, were there a lot of kite deaths back then? I don't remember ever hearing. I don't even remember an urban legend.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think, and if Stan Lee had seen this, he would have turned the kid into a superhero, right? It's like he wasn't a radioactive spider. He got electrocuted by his kite and became, I don't know, Kite Boy or something.
The worst you could do, Chris, is back then sometimes you might have dog fights with the kite, right?
Or unintentionally, they get tangled up. Yeah,
they get tangled up. Or again, if it's me and my friend Scott, we would actually fight with the kites. And what a shock. We actually did put razor blades on the outer edges of the kite. But I digress. Chris, it is now that time of the episode where we're actually going to tally up the score for the first time. Again, we are using artificial intelligence to do this. It is going to rank us in 4 different tiers. It's going to judge whether or not the reference that we made is common, like maybe Ronald McDonald, and that's not going to score many points. Moderately obscure, which again is going to give us more points, or the granddaddy of all, nice pull. If you score a nice poll, it has to be really obscure. It has to be like maybe 15 people on the planet know what you're talking about. And that is going to probably net you 100,000 points or more. So again, Chris, this is the first time we're doing this. Let's go ahead and see what AI came up with and who won episode 50 of Nice Pull.
Let's go, Jeff. Let's see it.
Okay, you know what? I actually kind of thought that was going to happen. As I thought back on, the stuff I was saying, I realized I was a little bit light on the polls, and you absolutely killed it. I bow to the master, but I am going to be prepared next time around to beat you. But Chris, well done, sir.
I'll take it. I don't know. I got bragging rights for this episode this week, and okay, we'll see where this goes.
All right. Well, awesome, man. We did it. I'm super excited. Hopefully you guys that are listening to the podcast enjoy the new format. I do want to remind everybody that we would love audience participation, right? So if you want to get a hold of us, you can always do it at nicepullpod@gmail.com. You can always go to the website, which is nicepullpod.com, and you can leave comments on any one of our episodes. We'd be happy to get a hold of you. We'd be happy to hear from you. Heck, you can even be on the show and say something if you want, if you're not camera shy,
yes.
right?
Exactly.
So And I think, Chris, next episode, we're going to be introducing even a few more things that are part of our new format. But until then, what do you think, Chris? Until next time?
Till next time, Jeff.